Hey, welcome in. We're the St. Louis Syndicate. I'm Nate. He's Brandon, and we're here with NFL Week 6 and our college football slate. Brandon, my man, Mr. Ben Harper. I hate to say it, but it looks like my man Brandon has fallen to second place. Now, granted, he's got
Yes.
$800,000 and I've got 140, so I can't make a whole lot of fun of anybody. But all that being said, what are you thinking, Brandon? How's the strategy going? Tell us a little bit about Ben Harper.
It's not going horrible. I got worked again by one game. When I have the strategy where I kind of stack these advantageous lines, if one goes bad, you fall from being able to pick up a huge chunk to going, yeah, I'm making some ground. And boy, did I screw up Thursday night. You guys do not get wild hairs on non-uniform sports days and just go, I'm going to let it rip. The Rams look like they were right there, and hey, the Niners are playing with nobody, and I put 200 grand on the Rams and the under, and boy, did I get worked. So
200 grand.
that was that was not enjoyable. On top of the fact that we, took him in the super contest and some other pools that we play in. I put, one of my top picks. I just, that was just sit there and just shake my head for 3.5 hours as it just goes poorly and more poorly.
That made no
But
sense, that game. That made no sense.
no, it's
I
one
don't
of
know
those
if the
things.
Rams were bad. Mac Jones was just lucky. But I mean, you know what bothered me about that game the most? His pants. Why couldn't that guy get a pair of pants that fit? It was killing me. He was constantly pulling his pants up. It was getting all spun around. And I'm so distracted by the Rams getting their asses handed to me that I'm losing every pool. And all I can look at is Mac Jones can't get his pants straight. I'm like, fix your fucking pants,
Sure.
Mac. Sorry, kids out
Yeah.
there listening. Fix the pants.
Yeah, it's so what a mess. Yeah, no, I got over my skis and ignored especially Thursday night games in division. It's a mess. Sometimes it comes out and it works exactly the way you want it to work. I'm sure if we look back at the numbers and went like, how does this work? I bet it's like 50-50. That
Oh,
like it works out, the favorite covers and it is what it is and it's all good. But just every one that you remember is, hey, this team that seems down and out just comes in and just wins outright. It's the outright winning that really throws things off.
oh yeah.
And I'm sure, as we get later in the video here and go into the super contest, there are the survivor, there were plenty of people that decided to let it rip on the Rams for survivor and just were met with just the crappiest game out of the Rams defense. Really, it's the Rams defense. Stafford and the rest of the offense played fine.
Yeah.
It's not like they went crazy, but when you're down every one of your wide receivers, you should not be just flinging the ball around the yard with your backup quarterback. That should have just been we run. They figure out how to stop it. Maybe we score a touchdown because CMC gets loose, but like we just throw 7-yard slant routes for 3 hours and nobody defends them. Like what a failure by the defense. Absolute chaos.
Terrible coached game. Terrible coached game on that.
Yeah.
I just
Yeah.
didn't like that at all. I
I
didn't think the
can't.
approach was good. Overall, the whole thing was just not good from
Yeah.
that perspective.
Completely threw me off that was the way that this was going down.
Oh, terrible. So that's your super contest kickoff, but then you rebounded with some college action. Anything big in college stand out to you?
Yeah. Well, look, I mostly stay off the big games. So Penn State, that, complete implosion. Yeah, I was able to avoid any shrapnel from that or the rest of the piddly games. Luckily this week we get to have kind of a bounce back, and we get to see some real heavy hitters going at it, which luckily you got the hack going. We get, one of the biggest games in Columbia in quite some time this weekend,
It's
with
exciting.
Bama coming to Faroe Field to see if Mizzou can stay undefeated. How are you feeling this week?
I, well, as we're the zoo right here, baby. We're gonna
Yeah,
do it. I think Mizzou has a big chance to come out of the gates hot and really kind of show that we belong, for lack of a better term.
yeah,
I think Alabama will key primarily on our running game because it's caught the most notoriety, and I think we're going to have trouble running the ball against Alabama. I don't know if that means we should stop trying because our running backs run the ball really hard. They do an outstanding job. But I think that's going to give us some opportunities if Eli, prepares appropriately for some play action, some hits to the tight end Norfleet. um, our wide receivers should be in really good position for some of those deep middle ends. I think that you're going to see some of that. We'll take a shot or two to try to take the top off because that's what we do. But our quarterback's a good scrambler. It all hinges on, can our offense continue to not stall out and make those third down plays? And can our defense get off the field against Ty Simpson and crew on third down? If you've watched any of the Bama games this year, they get themselves in some weird predicaments on third down. And he bails them out. And I mean, now granted, when you're playing other SEC schools, you're having those things happen like you would in the NFL, right? And 2nd and 3, you take a sack and a loss for 8, and so now it's 3rd and 8, and they don't get off the field. We don't see as many tush pushes and going for it on 4th down as you do, and I think that's because college coaches are just a little bit more conservative at this point. It hasn't quite, which is normally the opposite, right? Normally the NFL is slow to adapt to what college does, but I don't see a lot of college coaches um, with the notoriety that the NFL coaches do. This going forward on 4th down thing in the NFL is screwing up bets left and right.
I
Um,
think it's a variance thing on the
yeah,
execution part of it. That
yeah,
like you are, regardless of them wanting to be employees and whatnot, like they're kids,
they're kids.
and to go like I'm gonna lay weird 4th down positions in the hands of some
My
kids and just go,
teenager.
boy, I hope you execute. I think that slows them down a beat. But yeah, I'm with you. For the Legends picks, we he they locked it in at -2.5. So I went ahead and laid the points with Bama because I think, ultimately on average, it probably works out in the Bama's favor. But I think there's a path where we can legitimately go like this isn't going to be a fluke if they can win if they stick with exactly what you were talking about, that like we get the running game going, we stick with it, even if it doesn't work as well as it's worked the last couple of weeks, that, we can make our way through that game and have this be like a true, program defining sort of win.
Did I hear you
So,
say you took
that,
Alabama? Is that what I heard?
yeah, yeah. Of course. Like look, it's still numbers. It's at 3 now. It's locked in at 2.5. You lay the 2.5. That's how the world works.
So,
Um,
so here's what's funny. I'm looking at my Action Network um percentages. Okay,
yeah.
66% of the bets are on Missouri at +3. Now I think that that's moved because it was +6. 99% of the money is on Missouri at +3 right now, which I'm sure is moved through. Only 1%. I guess that's you. There's been 14,439 bets, and they've picked yours out of that.
Yeah, I guess so. I don't know. When I look at it, I just go, look, if you're gonna tell me that I need to, root with my heart, then I'm like, yeah, Mizzou, and I can see the path and I know exactly how this works. But I'm also the same guy that went, hey, let's get everybody together and go watch us when we was it A&M last year? Went down to
Yeah.
A&M and, 4.5 minutes into the game, we're like, I'll go ahead and close my tab. Like
Oh,
I can go home.
yeah, that was
I
bad.
can
I
watch the
remember
rest of
that.
this,
Oh, oh,
you
that
know, listen to it
that's a
in my
good
car on the
reminder.
drive home. So yeah, you go, look, and I think this team is um considerably better than we were last year. And we were playing well last year. So I think, you know, rooting for my pick to lose, but it's got to be balanced out to a certain extent. I got to look at it and go, if you're going to let me lay the 2.5, I don't think it goes back down to 2.5. I think we hold it to 3, probably all the way through um to game day. So I guess I'll let it rip with the 2.5.
There you go.
Um,
Love it.
and I'll try to be, a disciplined better instead of what I did last week and just take the Rams and let it fly.
Let it fly,
So,
baby.
so yeah, like that's, that'll make for an exciting morning and hopefully it works out fantastically for us. But, I think that it's going to be one of those things where a bunch of things will have to go right to not give in to the tsunami that
Yeah,
is, Alabama putting pressure on you.
sure. And that's definitely something they're gonna have to contend with. So,
Yeah.
not a whole lot of other games on the college slate excite me. In our Legends pick that Eric sent out earlier, I did notice one I thought was kind of interesting. The Indiana and the Oregon game. Um,
Yeah.
right now, that is sitting Indiana plus 7.5, Oregon minus 7.5. Here's what's interesting: 51% of the bets are on Indiana, but only 11% of the money is on Indiana. So
Yeah.
49% of the bets and 89% of the money is sitting out on Oregon. Personally, in the I think I am the epitome of this population. I think my heart says, man, it'd be cool if Indiana could cover. In the Legends picks, I picked Indiana more than anything because I just would like to see that happen. In
Yeah.
reality, if you put a gun to my head and say, Nate, take your second mortgage and go bet on it, it's Oregon all day. Gonna roll with it.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm on the same. I went ahead and laid the 7.5 with Oregon. I just, I don't, after watching what they did at Penn State and what they've done earlier in this, they had another, travel east sort of game early on in the season that I tried to time it and go, maybe it'll be flat. And they just went in there and walloped whoever they were playing. And you just go, look, this might finally just be the year that they've got all of this. I sit and watch the games and go, unless they screw up, I don't see another team
Right.
overpowering them. And so, I- you know, that's why it's at 7.5 to get some action on the other side, to get that hook out there for everybody to grab. But I I just don't see how that ends up being something else.
Absolutely. Totally agree. Well, that's kind of the college slate for me. I don't know if you have anything else that jumps out at you. Do you want to trash on Penn State at all?
No, no, no. Penn State has more than enough problems on their hand. I think, the only other one in the same vein is pointing at that Ohio State Illinois. That as much as I'd like to go in there and go, hey, I bet Illinois figures this out. You go,
Come on,
probably Ohio
Illini.
State just, you know, puts it to them. And I just go, I unfortunately, again, the opposite of the Bama pick, being kind of just an undisciplined better and going, no, I'll lay the 14.5. Like, I I feel more squirrely. I think that there is a world where Illinois at home makes
Maybe.
some plays and put some pressure, but I, I think this works out in the favor of both of those guys winning with margin
Yeah. And I'm just
on
not a fan of
Saturday.
Ohio State, so I just naturally gravitate away from them.
No, neither am
I
I.
think I picked them because I just don't trust Illinois is against the big boys, for lack of a better term.
Yeah, yeah.
We all know who the handful of big boys are, and that's not a team.
Do it for a year.
They're not there.
Yeah.
They're not there. So on to the NFL, Brando. We're in the Super Contest. We're doing okay in the Super Contest. We kind of took that tough one
All
on our
right.
chin early with the Rams. That was no fun at all. Ultimately, though, you know, we came out okay in the week. It was a little bit of a shift this week where some of the dogs covered. I think didn't I hear you say 9 of the dogs covered this week?
Yeah. Yeah. 9 of the dogs covered.
That's a that's as we talk consistently about gambling in here and we talk about, taking the right approach. Um, kind of felt like Vegas it was getting to the point where they were getting tired of all the favorites just continuing to cover, and they made the adjustments accordingly in their lines, and we saw the switch a little bit. Looking at the lines this week, we didn't like as many dogs. So that tells me that maybe there's been a little bit of a settling. It's probably going to be more of a balanced week. I think you'll probably see, 50-50 in terms of favorites and dogs covering here in this particular week. But
Sure am hoping.
our top five, in our top five, I mean, it adjusts every week, and we're still working on our power rankings for those of you that are interested in that. We will be publishing those soon. Brandon came up with formulas to counteract my formulas. You should see the rows of thought process he's put into this. I had 2 rows in mine, and we might actually have to have competing um, strategies in this to see who has better at the end of the year, and bet a bottle of whiskey on it or something. But uh,
Yeah. Yeah.
we're gonna
We
come
can
up
kind of
with
work out a consensus and run them parallel and
yeah. See how we go. We
see
can
how they
call it
go.
this is our test year, right? If you're in business, they call them champion
Yeah.
challengers, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
I think that's a great way to handle this for the rest. Since we're getting started in the middle of the year anyway, and I think
We're gonna decide
this
on which way
probably
we're
would
gonna
have.
go for next year.
Yeah, yeah. I think that's a great idea.
That just came up right here in the middle of the recording. We didn't even talk about that beforehand,
Yeah.
so we'll see how
No,
that
no.
goes.
But that's a pretty fantastic idea.
So our top 5, Detroit, just continues to motorboat people. And I
Yeah.
think it's gonna get worse as the season goes. They're going to continue to just improve, and that I just like seeing them. Our 2 and 3 teams took their first losses though, but it didn't impact our rankings. I know you're a big fan of Philly, so can you tell us why you didn't want to see them moved?
Man, I wouldn't even have them in the top 5 if it was just me and I was being as snarky as I like to be. Like obviously they are a good team. I just when you watch them play, you go, they have very clear deficits of being able to run an offense. The defense, there's times where they seem to lose what they're trying to do, but like ultimately a pretty good defense. The offense, I don't know why they can't get it going, but they cannot. We've now watched 5 games of it, and not once has it looked powerful. So they're there, they keep winning, they come in with certain priors. It makes sense for them to stay there until they lose another game or two. But yeah, it's hard. It's easier for me to ignore it with Buffalo when they lose in division against a team that has historically given them trouble with those home games. And, there was some odd stuff that happened. It wasn't, we had, wild turnovers compared to Philly, who just can't can't get a first down.
Right.
So yeah, those kind of stay there. And it's hard. Look at these five and then go, who else do I want to put up there? But like the top five should really be teams that you look at and go, when they're playing anybody that's not part of this top five, you should feel real comfortable with them winning. And as you go the rest of the way down the list, you just kind of go, in some situations.
Right.
And, we're having a lot of mediocre play this year so far, or inconsistent. We'll call it inconsistent because there's plenty of great play going on. It's just not happening for entire games or for multiple games. Like the
Yeah.
Chargers just turned back into a pumpkin last week. Now, hey, maybe it's all
Is
injuries. And as soon as they're healthy, it'll just pop back up. But they just got stonewalled.
It just makes you wonder about the depth of the league. Your point to injuries is very accurate. Um, I feel like the salary cap situation in the NFL, which is good, right? It creates parity, but it also creates some very lackluster secondary guys, backups. And
Yeah.
what I mean by that is they pay the stars big, they pay the starters soundly, and then they pay everybody else minimum wage. And I think that's a little bit of an issue because if a guy is good enough to be borderline starter, he's leaving to go somewhere where he can be a starter, and then they have to backfill it with minimum wage. And then whoever's place he takes is either bad and out of the league, and then he's moved in and taken somebody behind them's minimum wage. So when we're seeing these guys go down, there's just not the depth behind them. I mean, quarterback is glaringly obvious in the NFL, right?
Right.
But
Sure.
but these losing your left tackle or your right tackle or your right guard, or there's no center and the guard who's been playing guard all year has to go over and start taking snaps in the middle of the game. You're going, where's our
Yeah.
depth? Don't we have a backup center that's his job? And
Yeah.
uh, it's a
A really
problem.
good point.
So
Yeah, no, that's a really, really solid point to just look at that and go, hey, as soon as we start pulling some players out, and look, there's certain teams that find their way through it. San Francisco, naming one, that seems to just go, hey, we're down all the wide receivers that we would normally allow to catch the football. We'll just put four new ones out there. And that'll work just fine. That's an interesting little swing for them. But you're right. A lot of these other guys, they bring the next guy in, and at least from a rating perspective, the guys that deeply know each of these positions look at it and go, "Oh, that guy is legitimately, you know, 30% worse than the starter." And you go like, "All right, that sounds real bad." And so it does. It leads to the inconsistency. And so, when I look at these five and I go, hey, they seem to, other than Philly, in my opinion, be very consistent in what their plan is and the ability to execute it. So that's where I kind of land when I start thinking about these power rankings.
and and think about how the really good handicappers, the guys that are winning, 55-60% of the time, which is rare, right? I mean, what is it? 52% breaks even. But if you're winning
Yeah.
55 to 57% of the time, you're considered good. These are the guys that study and know the depth charts, and they
Yeah.
know those percentages, right? And they're using grades and they're using a scale. And so a little bit of edge is created by these sharp guys by understanding matchups and understanding. And I'll give you a prime example. CD Lamb goes down, George Pickens goes to the number one, but then it's a trickle up effect, right? Turpin goes to the number two, or whatever, however this works. But eventually the fourth guy is there, and he's not as good, and he can't cover. And so, or he can't run his routes the same way, and he's not as fast. And so there's a glaring weakness. So in situations of third down, when they would normally go to these four wide receiver sets, they know that there's a down play. And then they also know that that means that your fourth down conversions are going, or your third down conversions are going to fall by 15%. And that's where
Yeah.
the impact comes. And these guys have algorithms to figure this out. And it's just, you and I can talk about it until we're blue in the face, but with normal Joes with normal jobs, you can't just go out
Well,
and have the time to dissect this. But if you're really good at it, you can pick up an edge. So if you're one of those guys out there that has no job and you want to get really good at betting, that's a good place to start.
yeah, no, without a doubt. That is all great points. That if and look, we're going to do our damnedest to build as much as we can on available data to get a sense of, layering in some of this stuff where people put composite scores together, and that's kind of the goal with, putting together some true power rankings, 1 through 32. But yeah, so much of it is having an understanding of what the depth chart is and who truly impacts it, and being able to find those little edges.
So anybody out there that wants to sponsor us and pay Brandon and I some absurd salaries to study this and give information out, we accept sponsorships that are
Yeah.
monetarily driven, and we will sit and study these and be happy to share this information with you for your betting pleasure. But to start with, we would need a salary that would cover both of us, and that's going to be significant to start with. So we do take corporate sponsorships, just in case anybody's asking. Okay, so on the Power Five, it was important. I wanted to touch the Power Five this time. Normally, we talk about two or three games that we like. All three of the games we're going to talk about today are tied to our power rankings. The first being Detroit, Kansas City, with currently Kansas City being -1 at home. We kind of have differing opinions here, not in a terrible way, but definitely in a concerning way. And we wanted to kind of discuss those. So, who you got in this one, Brandon? What's your thoughts?
I am reluctantly on Detroit's side. I think that from a pure consistency standpoint, which is what we've been talking about, that Detroit should be capable of going in there and winning this game. The issue for me that goes along with it is we're one absolutely boneheaded pass away from Kansas City just smashing the last two opponents that they played, and being back to looking like they're supposed to look.
Yeah.
Hey, we got a deep threat, we got a middle guy, we got a tight end. Yeah, the running back thing's still a little sketchy, but Mahomes is just going to handle it by running the ball. Um, the defense is doing the things they're supposed to be doing, creating negative plays, making it, getting off the field on these drives. So, yeah, it's a little sketchy. Um, if Kansas City wasn't favored, I'd be grabbing the points. But when you go, hey, we have what should be the best team in the league getting points, um, I'm kind of stuck having to go, all right, like I, I'm in on it. Now you're a little more dedicated to this take, right?
Yeah. I'm all over Detroit in this particular instance. And so, uh, you know, for me, I've watched Kansas City and I pay fairly close attention to him. My mother's a huge Kansas City Chief fan. Speaking of my mother, this woman said she watched our videos and we're not funny enough. She 75-year-old mom says you guys need to be funnier if this is gonna work. She goes, you're too
Okay.
serious.
I could try to bring that along.
I'm like, not funny enough. We're hilarious, mom. Jesus. Anyway, that one person that watched this, there's our feedback. Um, so anyway, yeah, I think Detroit is going to be determined, and Dan Campbell does a really good job of motivating. And Andy Reid does as well. But in this particular instance, I feel that Detroit's trying to prove that they're next. And Kansas City is one of those teams that always gets everybody's best. They're while they're not the defending champs this year, they're the defending goats, right? I mean, there's no Tom Brady to
Yeah,
attack. Everybody wants to knock off the Chiefs, so they get everybody's best efforts every week, which is fine. Clearly this year's catching up with them a little bit, in my opinion. I think that the likes of Montgomery and Gibson smashing them right in their face with Laporta and Williams and Amara just running around. That defense looked tired against Jacksonville. And Jacksonville has good receivers in Travis Hunter and Brian Thomas, not Williams and Amara. And I really don't think that their tight end's as good as Laporta. And their running game is okay. It is not what they're going to get with Gibbs. I really
yeah,
feel like Kansas City's going to be, you're going to see Kansas City sucking wind in the fourth quarter going, what the hell is happening at our home stadium? Very rarely do I feel like they shouldn't be favored at home. But in this particular instance, Detroit's the better team right now in this part of the season. That doesn't mean they're not going to come back. We all know how this story goes, right? The greatest
right.
players and teams tend to find a way. But at this point in the season, if you're looking at a team running on all cylinders, you'd be hard pressed to find somebody better than Detroit right now.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I agree with all of those things. And so I'm, reluctantly riding along with this, but it is one that worries me quite a bit. So, um, at least there's, a clear attack path for that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So our next game, another one of our top five is Tampa Bay with San Francisco. Now, this isn't necessarily a favorite of everybody's. We're not like, oh, this is the greatest game of the week, but Tampa Bay is just consistent and has continued to get it done. I love seeing the memes and the jokes that the Browns gave up on Baker Mayfield. And Baker just
Yeah.
keeps winning and just doing what he does. I'm a huge Baker Mayfield fan. I personally like Tampa Bay in this scenario. Um, I'm not a believer in San Francisco. I'm not a believer in Mac Jones, even though they just kicked me in the groin. Sorry, mom, if you're listening. Just totally kicked me in the groin with this Rams thing last week. Um, Mac's pants don't fit, and when he gets down to Tampa, it could be raining or hot and wet, and his pants might fall off. It's not going to be a good scenario, and I just see Baker doing his thing and going ahead and taking care of business in this one.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that Tampa now has a long enough track record here to go. th- They're making huge chunk plays, and you would normally go, yeah, there's gonna be this variance and it'll be back and forth and it's whatever. But it's very clearly that they have figured out a game plan for here is how we are going to create these chunk plays. And it doesn't matter which offensive linemen are in there, what wide receivers are healthy. We're going to figure out a way to do it. They went across the country against a reasonably good Seattle team,
Yeah.
um, and went punch for punch with them and ended up winning the game as underdogs. And to go, hey, I think San Francisco is now going to come across the country and line up. And I think, as much trouble as San Francisco had running the ball last week and needed to switch to passing, they're going to have even more of a problem. One of my favorite things always to lean on with Tampa Bay is Vita Vea there in the middle of the line
Oh yeah.
causing problems for people's run games. So they're going to have to go to the passing game. And I think, like, we now have the game plan on the page. This is what they did last week
Yeah.
against the Rams. Is Tampa going to line up and just try to do the same thing?
I mean,
I
probably.
would hope not. Their coach has historically been able to adjust what we're doing, make it, a, a clear game plan, and then consistently be able to execute it. So for me, especially on the contests here, where we're talking about them being at -2.5, that is just a clear play for me.
Yeah.
Don't overreact to what San Francisco was able to do out
Yeah.
of nowhere last week, and just go, hey, what if both teams just play the way that they should play? And yeah, for me, it should easily be on the other side of the three. So we've got great value here, and it's one of my favorites for the week.
Yeah. Totally on board with that. Our last one of our Power Five that we're going to talk about is Indianapolis. It's a team that just continues to surprise and impress. Um, what do you got with Indianapolis with Arizona coming to town?
I think that the only thing worrisome about this game is getting some sort of reaction to what happened to Arizona last week out of them. And I just don't think when you line up the two lines against each other on both sides of the ball and the skill position players, that Arizona has the firepower to come out and do that. So I think that we see another situation where Indianapolis comes out and they hold the team down and just slowly pull away from them throughout the game. And that this same consistent game plan that they've used where, hey, we're not trying to win the game all at once, works another week. And we just see them, 13, 14 points win this game.
Yeah. No, I totally agree, and I like the line of 13, 14 points. Actually, feels better than 6.5. I I don't think Arizona has the chops to come back and shake off that loss like other teams would.
No,
Seattle's gonna shake off the dust. Buffalo will shake it off. There's some different ones that they get a loss, you shake it off. Um, Arizona does not have the chops, and I think they've got some internal culture issues. Um, I say
it
that
seems
because
like
when
it.
you're finding your head coach for yelling and poking at a player who drops a ball and effectively costs you the game, that's a bad message from general manager, owner, all the way down through. That means that the coaches doesn't have control of his team. He doesn't have control of his emotions. And then on top of it, the team feels like they have to punish him. Like, what are we, kindergarten? We're in high school here. What the hell? What are we punishing? What, we're
Well,
fining
I
a
mean, come on.
$100,000 this guy? I mean, I know he lost his shit, but come on. Um,
Yeah.
I've had coaches
Well,
lose their shit on me for a whole lot less.
yeah. Yeah. I think it was I think I think the stance was that it was something more than a poke.
Yeah.
I think the yelling and the losing the shit, I think would have all been fine. I think that last like j- drilling him in the pec or whatever that was, open hand
Yeah.
slap or whatever we're gonna call that, I think was the one where they kind of went like, well, like, okay, what if that gladiator that you just struck grabbed a hold of you and ragdolled you? Like, we probably don't want that sort of thing going on the sidelines. But either way, you're right that does the head coach have the proper like institutional control over his team if he is coming unglued to that degree on the sideline when somebody makes a boneheaded play? It's not that like it, but you have to just go like, tomorrow I'm going to run you until your legs can't carry you anymore, or something. You can't just go over in front of the cameras and do something bad enough that like other people had to come over and like pick you up and walk you away. And
I got
you're not
issues.
doing the proper management thing of having more control than the people you're managing. So they seem like they're coming unraveled. I'm sure that we will get another crazy Kyler game, where he does a
Mhm.
bunch of, wild stuff. Yeah. This ain't gonna be it.
No, they're gonna.
Mm,
I
they-
mean, Jonathan
they-
Taylor's running like a machine. Daniel Jones
yeah.
looks like Tom Brady reincarnated. I mean, they're throwing the ball well. Their defense is nasty. I'm
It always
surprised
worries
at
me.
what's that?
It always worries me when something like this doesn't move through the seven, but,
Yeah,
you know,
it's early.
maybe it will by game time.
Yeah, it's early.
Yeah.
I don't know. I can tell you this: if I was the Arizona Cardinals, or if Jimmy Johnson was, what happens is that guy gets that little pink slip in his locker. And then that's the end of it. It's we don't have to yell or cuss or poke or nothing. We're not going to prove any points. We're a professional football team. You didn't follow the rules that we have in place, which is holding on to the ball across the goal line. You're cut. You can't. I'm not
Yeah.
going to touch you. I'm not
Yeah.
going
It's
to
the old
smack you.
Belichick move where you just watch the guy stand on the sidelines for the rest of the season. You're
Yeah.
like, oh, that guy's done playing.
Yes. Done.
Just stand there and hold your helmet for
Yeah.
another
No, I
12 games.
Jimmy Johnson the next day would cut kickers when they missed, and he just would come. Shit. Back in the night, he just cuts you. You missed. You're done. We'll bring another one in.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
can't
Yeah.
hang on
Yeah.
to the
Yeah.
ball across the goal line. We're just gonna cut you. Your name's not Kyler
It'll
Murray.
be
You
very
know,
interesting to see if they try to do some sort of, hey, get back out there. What we're doing with Derrick Henry, right, in Baltimore, where you go, hey, you have a long enough track record of being elite that this fumbling thing is odd. And, he's not fumbling in absolutely ridiculous positions, but, you go, oh, we got to feed the beast.
yeah.
But when your second, third running back is out there letting the ball go before he scores, I have to imagine, like, we're not going to see him on the field this week.
Nope, not at all. If he's in your fantasy team, you might want to put him on your bench.
Yeah, I'd be real careful with that. Yeah, that's for
You know.
sure.
All right, well, it's that time. We've talked for long enough, Brandon. What all the people want to hear is our crappy survivor picks from last week, how that turned out. It actually turned out crappy for me, but our overall record is pretty good, Brandon. We are 21-4. Still pretty good. Um, I missed my personal play. I am out of the Sandman Survivor. Only 199 survived because we lost 108 people on the Arizona game. We lost 81 on the Rams game, 19 on the Buffalo game, and a few others smattered around through there. A couple on Kansas City. Um, Not bad at all. 199 is getting down to the nitty gritty. I'm still in another league, so I'm going to continue to pick with you, Brandon. Brandon's still in this one,
Sure.
fighting along. We're going to give you our plays. Our top play, Brandon, this week is
Green Bay. Green Bay, they
Green
are
Bay.
14 and a half or 14-point favorites over Cincinnati. So, mathematically, it's about as close to a sure thing as it gets in the NFL. So, as much as Cincinnati getting a new quarterback and that new quarterback being a guy that can sling the ball down the field is, slightly worrisome. With the rest of this slate, there's going to be a ton of people on Green Bay.
Yeah. I mean, and he has beaten Green Bay already.
It's a good point.
So
He knows how to do it.
he knows how to do it. And he
He
probably
doesn't quite
knocked
have
a
the
few people out
defensive
of Survivor
firepower, but
that week too.
yeah, no, for sure. Yeah, without a doubt.
So top plays Green
Who's
Bay.
our safe play this week?
Safe plays Indianapolis. While we just talked about Indianapolis and we talked about Arizona, it's more of a play against Arizona as it is for Indianapolis. But Indianapolis is playing really strong right now. But if you look at them and their upcoming schedule in the future weeks, Indianapolis is really, they do have a game against Tennessee. They've got Atlanta, but This is probably a pretty good place considering some of the other teams on this are like Philly at the Giants, which I just don't really trust. The Rams at Baltimore. I mean, technically, Baltimore's not supposed to be good right now if these guys are all hurt, but I'm going to point the Rams to San Francisco last week. So I don't know if we want to call that a good survivor play or not. So Indianapolis is really that play for us this week. I think it makes a lot of sense, and they should be able to take care of business.
Yeah, they
Our risk
definitely.
reward.
Yeah, Washington. Um, this is really the last safe-ish place to use them. Their schedule gets considerably harder after this week. Um, it Chicago had a glimmer in their last game. Maybe they have figured something out. Remains to be seen. But if you can sneak in a use of Washington here, um, Daniels is back. McLaurin is moving in the direction of being back. This is the last good spot without them, getting way better. This is kind of the last spot for them.
Yep, I absolutely agree. Maybe way down the road you could sneak in and grab them with a Miami or a Giants, but probably a good spot for this. So, overall, I'm very much in agreement with you as far as a risk reward play. So, our plays this week, who are we on? Well, I'm on the safe play. I got to survive in advance. And you're on the risk reward play. Is that how we're looking at it right now?
Yeah, I'm going to take Washington. If McLaurin doesn't play, I'm going to be rethinking this, but that's where I'm starting. I think that this is the right week to get a little more risky and run it out there and let Washington kind of get their legs back under them on Monday night at home.
Very good. And you, of course, have the right to always change your pick. We try to stick with our plays.
Yeah.
Last week, I chickened out at the last minute, thinking that the Browns were going to show up and maybe knock off Minnesota. So I made what I thought was an educated decision to switch off of Minnesota over to Arizona, which was one of our other risk reward plays. So I wasn't too far off.
Yeah.
Now,
No.
unbeknownst to me, I didn't know
Just
we were going to
happened
be
and
dropping
didn't.
touchdowns and letting the team playing Tennessee actually smash me in the nose. And they did that. So that's why we lost. So we do reserve the right to change if we're strategically trying to stay alive, but ultimately, um, watch out when you change. That will sneak up and get you. If I'd have just stayed the course, I'd still be surviving.
Yeah.
Speaking
Yeah,
of
it's always
Tennessee,
rough when you second guess it. Yeah.
oh, never second guess. But speaking of Tennessee, that team playing them this week is the Raiders. Who is going to be gutsy enough to play the Raiders this week? Would you?
No, no, look, this is, because Tennessee is so bad, the Raiders end up being like the sixth or seventh favorite as far as plays for Survivor. But th- they're really marginally better
Yeah.
than Tennessee. And in all reality, when you look at Vegas versus Tennessee as far as over or underperforming versus the spread, the Raiders have been worse. So, for the entire season so far, they've underperformed by 8.25 points on average versus 6.6 for Tennessee. So, um, be weary. There will be people that take this shot. Um, Vegas should win, obviously, but this is a sketchy one. And
Yeah.
maybe we should point out, two that we don't have up here, that are higher point spread teams in Philly and Denver.
Yeah.
Philly playing Thursday night, Denver playing Sunday morning overseas. Both sitting at 7.5 point favorites right now. Um, and I would assume there will be a reasonable number of people on there. This is one of those weeks where, we start slimming out these survivor picks
Mhm.
because there's really Green Bay being the big one that's sitting out there. And then everything else has completely reasonable arguments against taking anybody else. So, you know, I work out the one that you're comfortable with and make sure you go down um, with the ship.
Yeah, it's not fun. I'm not good at drowning, Brandon, but hey, that's very sound advice. And I do think, personally, I think Denver is going to take care of business, and I don't trust the Eagles at all. But hey, you got to kind of start zeroing in, and it's going to be tough because as we get into this a little bit further, you're going to start wondering who would we take outside of the top plays because those have already been used. So Brandon and I are going to talk about, maybe how we adjust this segment a little bit to incorporate more of those risk reward plays into this, because for informational purposes for you. I think it's good to know what the 2 or 3 middle plays are for the given week that you may not have used yet. Um, because consensus says that a lot of you have probably used Green Bay or used Buffalo or used Detroit or used Philly. So as they continually show at the top, we're going to try to find some adjustments for you and help you along in the Survivor season. Any
Yeah,
parting
yeah,
shots,
it'll be
Brandon?
nice. No, no, good luck to everybody. Um, we're hoping for our picks to go through and everybody else's to go poorly, I guess.
Nothing funny to say for my mom?
Oh,
Anybody got a knock
here's the
knock
funny
joke or
thing.
something?
Here,
Knock knock.
no, no, I'll tell. I got a funny story for you. As everybody can see here, we got a bit of a different background on this week's episode because I'm playing injured
Oh
tonight.
no.
I uh I've been having a lingering volleyball injury for weeks where, between every game I have to come off and I have this giant like massage ball that I use to try to, work out my hamstring and my glute and whatnot. And then I compounded that by deciding that with basically no training, I was gonna walk a 10K on Sunday, our yearly Mo Cowbell half marathon. We usually do the half marathon. We switched up to a 10K this year. So I then woke up on Monday morning and can't walk. Like I've fully destroyed my hamstring and have been limping everywhere I go for 4 days. To like
Oh, I
to the
shouldn't be
point that
laughing.
like in the what would be a 70-yard walk between my car and my desk. Like I have to sit down twice to like let my leg kind of calm down a little bit. So I'm on the couch today because my normal setup is standing at my bar. So that was going to be completely impossible, regardless of the amount of minutes that we went on this. So yeah, that's been the hilarious um, uh, story that I've dealt with all this week. Is every time I pass somebody, they go, "You doing all right?" Like, yeah, like I'm doing great. I always limp like this.
Ah, oh, that's fantastic. Oh,
Yeah. So a little story time for
good
everybody there at
stuff.
the end of the pod.
That's the way to finish it up, man. That's fantastic. We were just talking about this last week too, because I hurt my back and I couldn't get around, and you were talking about stretching and
Yep.
volleyball, and you go, I think I even said, dude, be careful, it's coming.
Uh huh. And I made it through volleyball quite nicely. Didn't aggravate it. 6
10K.
games on Friday night. Everything was good, and did the entire walk. It felt great. You know, when you're used to doing a half marathon, a 10K feels like a walk in the park.
Yeah.
Like you got done, you're like, this is great. I probably should have stretched when I got done. That was probably the misstep that I took. But yeah, we're hoping. Um, I'm hoping at least tonight I can sleep without it waking me up throughout the night.
Yeah.
That'll be the goal tonight. Maybe
Yeah, it's one
walking
step.
for real tomorrow. Yeah.
Every day, one step closer.
Uh-huh.
Fantastic. All right. Well, hey, everybody out there, good luck with your picks. I'm Nate. He's Brandon. We're the St. Louis Syndicate. See ya.
Cheers.